Tandem Nomads episode 261. The learning curve with technology and all these great online tools available to you can feel sometimes really overwhelming. So here are for you some tips of how you can overcome this challenge and turn these challenges into great opportunities for growth. Hello, Nomad Nation. Welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and resources to grow a successful portable business and thrive in your global nomadic life, as well as through any life transition. So in the previous solo episode, I talked to you about my 5 top online tools that I swear by to grow a successful portable business. In fact, without these tools, it wouldn't be possible to build a business that's truly portable, that allows you to be present online and through transition as well. However, I also know, for having gone through that myself, that the learning curve to get to be familiar with these online tools, first of all, to find them, then to choose which one, and then once you choose to actually get to know how to use them, install them, and manage them, can be such a long haul or feel that way and feel really overwhelming. So this is why I wanted to bring to you this episode to give you some guidance on how to deal with that and how to make sure to take advantage of these online tools and get over that hurdle of learning how to use them and feeling familiar with these tools. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it's about online tools is the mindset shift. Indeed, if you're resisting getting to learn about these online tools, that's not going to happen. I know that some of you are simply just resisting those online tools, but I've seen in my clients as well that resistance of deep inside when we scratch on the surface, it's actually much bigger than the technology. It's a bunch of beliefs that you might have that are stopping you from taking advantage of these online tools. I would invite you here to sit down and look at what are the thoughts that you're having around these online tools? What are the beliefs you are having around these online tools and starting to debunk them one after the other? The thing is, whatever you decide to believe about these online tools will become reality for you. If, for example, you think that online tools are too complicated, that you need to be tech savvy to be able to use them, then by just thinking that, you are making it real and you are making it a challenge just by thinking that way. If you think sometimes that there's something bad, like a bad beliefs around technology, for example, social media, although it requires to put yourself out there on top of the tech itself, but just the beliefs that most people have around social media are the reasons why a lot of solo entrepreneurs are struggling to put themselves out there. So what I want you to do is to really analyze and identify the thoughts that you have and take them one by one and debunk them. Like, ask yourself, why is that not true? I want you to flip the scenarios and set the thoughts and choose the thoughts that will help you feel more comfortable with technology. Because at the end of the day, like anything in life, by the way, when you struggle with technology, it's actually a choice. It's because you've chosen to make it a struggle instead of taking the learning curve as an exciting thing to go through. So I invite you to challenge yourself and choose the thoughts and the beliefs that will help you get over that learning curve. Getting over that hurdle and that learning curve is a choice that you can proactively make. And here are some of the thoughts that I want to share with you that I think are crucial to be able to make that mindset shift before I even teach you how practically to get over that learning curve. So the first thing that I want to share with you is how I feel that resisting technology is actually being super ungrateful. And I'm lucky that I actually started my entrepreneurial journey in times where technology was there, but it was so not available as it is today. It was either expensive. I remember even in my career, I used to have access to some online tools that at the time, as a solo entrepreneur, when I used to work in big corporate companies as a solo entrepreneur, I would never have been able to afford. And nowadays, very similar tools are not only more affordable, but they're even better than what I used to use in corporate world, those big sophisticated tools. And in fact, when I say I used to use, I didn't use them personally. I needed to go through the tech department. They would use the tool, process the data, and just give me the information I needed. But I was not the one able to actually manipulate that technology. We had a whole department of IT people who would be in charge of it. Now you can do that without having an IT person in your business and having to pay for all of that. So I think it's important to understand how lucky we are to live in a world where anybody can have access to high technology and highly sophisticated tools at a very affordable price. But on top of it, they are very user-friendly. All the online tools that are designed today, most of them that are available to solo entrepreneurs are designed to be easy to use. So it's really important that you shift your narrative around these online tools. Instead of saying, oh my God, it's so complicated, it's so difficult to learn, tell yourself how grateful you are that you actually have access to these online tools that honestly even 10 years ago were not there. So I think that is the first thing that I want to invite you to realize. And if you fill your heart and your brain with that gratefulness, the resistance you might feel around these online tools might be so much weaker and will allow you to really get out of your comfort zone and take full benefit of these resources. And the other thing I want to share with you, and hopefully this will make you feel better as well, I've been there with online tools. I've been so frustrated. I can actually tell you the story when I started Tandem Nomads. I remember how much time I had to spend on learning how to podcast and how to edit and also how to develop my own website. I remember that I would get so frustrated that every time my husband would come from work, I would keep telling him all these issues that I had with these technologies. But today I'm so happy that I went through that hurdle, because if I didn't go through that hurdle, I wouldn't have been able to at some point grow and become comfortable with these online tools today. So you will need to get over that hurdle. You will need to go through that hurdle. And at some point, the reward will be ease. The reward will be how amazing it is to now take full advantage of these tools without feeling that frustration anymore. Because one thing that's common to any tool is that learning curve. And you will see that although the tools might be very different from each other, there are some big principles. There is like a common philosophy around these online tools that when you get familiar with 1, 2, or 3 online tools, all the others will feel so much easier. So hang in there, go through the process, and you will see the reward on the other end will be how easy it actually is to get to learn these online tools. And I'm going to give you some resources today to help you make it easy to get to learn these tools. So no worries about that. I just want you to, in terms of mindset, focus on what's on the other end of this story. Focus on being really determined to get to that place where you finally feel comfortable with these online tools. And for that, you will need to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. And if you don't want that, then you're not going to be able to do it. And therefore, you're not going to be able to grow and use these online tools to not only scale, but also ultimately to save you the time and energy that you are spending right now. if you think that right now all these online tools are taking a lot of time and energy, think of all the things you're doing without the online tools that you could automate, that you could schedule, that you could scale thanks to technology. So ultimately, it's again about shifting the narrative. Instead of looking at technology as something that's overwhelming, that's sucking up all your time and energy, it is the opposite. Yes, there is a learning curve, but ultimately what you're doing is investing some time to, at some point, be able to save years of your life down the road, to not only save time, but also grow your potential in terms of revenue, because if you can free time of mundane tasks, you can then focus on money generating tasks. And that is why I always recommend to start automating and also delegating as soon as possible in your entrepreneurial journey. All right. So I shared with you my first and for me most important tip about how to overcome your frustration with tech is to work on your mindset and the thought you choose to approach the challenges of getting familiar with online tools. Then you can make full benefit of the next tips I have for you. They're more practical about how to actually become more familiar with online tools and smoothen that journey for you. So here is my second tip and what I've done in my early stages. And I know it can sound very basic, but sometimes the gold is in the basic stuff. And that big tip is YouTube. I've learned everything I know today about online tools, I would say 90% through YouTube. That's another thing that I'm so grateful for. It's a free resource. It just at the tip of your fingers, all that knowledge. You just have to go to YouTube and type on the search box, how to XYZ, and you got a bunch of answers. And it's unbelievable the number of free tutorials of high quality there are out there to teach you about anything related to online tools, but also anything about life in general, but specifically online tools. So when you do that search, I have one specific advice for you, is to type the date of that tool. For example, let's say you're making online research of how to use WordPress. WordPress is an online tool to create your website. So make sure to say, how to use WordPress, latest updates, and then you add the year that you're on. And even if you don't add that year, in general, when you tap on YouTube, your search box, you're going to see a lot of results. So if you want to be updated, because those tools keep changing very often, and that's, I know, another frustration, but again, going back to the mindset. But the way you can deal with it is by looking at the dates of when those videos were published and choose the ones that are clear to you and that are the most recent ones, right? So I would make it a very systematic thing. Every time you are blocked with one issue and don't understand how to use it, go to YouTube and type it in there and you will see how many answers you will find. It's unbelievable. It's just... I get really excited about this, and I still do. This is quite funny that I'm realizing that I'm still really excited because I feel so super grateful for all those people who are actually doing those tutorials. And of course, it's a great marketing strategy for them to get an audience, but they're still providing here a huge service. So another thing I want to invite you to do that I try to do, and sometimes I forget, I'm going to be honest with you, but I really try to be mindful about this. Whenever I find a YouTube tutorial that's free and useful, please like the video, please leave a comment and say thank you. These are real people behind those videos. These are real people who are actually taking time and effort and putting love and energy into what they do in their craft. So yeah, please do that. I realize, we take that for granted so easily, and we should not. So YouTube is your friend, Nomad Nation. Please don't skip that. But here is another tip that is also amazing because I see I actually been an early adopter of a lot of tools. For example, Zoom that everybody knows now, especially since the pandemic. But I've been an early user of Zoom. And that's the great thing when you're an online marketer, you often get to know about some online tools before they become a thing. I've been an online adopter of a lot of tools, I realize while I'm talking to you. Zoom, podcast websites, and there's a bunch of others. And it's been amazing to see the evolution that these companies have been through, and you are basically growing with them. And so I highly recommend you to, whenever you see a new tool coming in, if there's a chance for you to become an early adopter, I highly recommend you to do that, because it's also an unbelievable opportunity for growth in terms of getting comfortable with online tools. But my point here, the reason I'm saying that is because I've seen how much progress these online tools have done. And for example, Zoom was so different before. I had so many tech issues when I started with the Zoom. And I know that Zoom had a lot of backlash after the pandemic because they were not ready for that huge surge of demand. But I can tell you that all these online tools have done tremendous improvements to make your customer experience smooth. But on top of it, they also did two things that I want you to take advantage of, and these are my next tips. The first one is a lot of these tools actually have their own e-learning platform with their tutorials to help you use their tools. So whenever you sign up to a new online tool, make sure to check if they don't have their own online tutorials. Sometimes it's directly on their platform, and sometimes they actually have their own YouTube channel where they share their tutorials. So first thing, check if they have their own tutorials. And by the way, tell me if you can resonate with this. But I know that sometimes these online tools, when you sign up right away, immediately they send you through what they call the walkthrough, where they walk you through the process of using that tool. And what I know, because I'm guilty of that too, is that eagerness to just dive into it and get started, right? Instead of using the process they're giving you, the step-by-step, small baby step process that they're giving you to get to be familiar. So if you join an online platform or an online tool and they have that process to teach you how to get to be familiar with it, use it. Why would you not use it, right? So please don't be impatient and go through that step-by-step process. You might think that by skipping those steps, you're saving time, but what you're doing to yourself is just making it worse and creating more opportunities for bigger frustrations. So take those steps that are suggested by those online tools and take those online tutorials and e-learning platforms that they're doing. I've seen more and more also online tools that provide not only webinars, but also conferences around their technology. So go there, learn, become part of this community. And that's what I love about these online tools. At that time when I started, it was just a technology. It was just a product that they were selling. And now these online tools are aware that community is everything. So be part of that community. Another thing that these have are hubs. I'm not sure exactly how it's called technically, but I think it's called hubs in general, or communities. It's either on, not so much on Facebook, but they usually have their own forum. That's the word I was looking for. Their own forums of users that support each other. Go in, get to be part of that community to support each other. And some of them have Facebook groups. Go in, use it. I actually have this. One of the tools I recommended in my previous episode was podcast websites. I love podcast websites and Captivate. I'm such a big fan of these online tools that allow you to host your website and your podcast. And they have an amazing community with a Facebook group. And whenever I have an issue, I go there. But honestly, I have to force myself to go there because here's my next tip related to online tools that I want to invite you to use is the customer service. So podcast websites and Captivate is an example of a platform that has an amazing community, but on top of it, they have an amazing tech support team with real people who actually not only answer your question, but go in the back end of your system and fix it for you when you need it. So for me, I tend to forget to go to the community because the tech support is so good, but I do go to the community because sometimes it's about the experience, it's not just about the tech issue, right? So make sure that whenever you have that little box that's called chat or tech team or support, use it whenever you're blocked. Number one, either you use YouTube or the tutorials that they have already planned for you. Number two, ask for the tech support to help you. It's unbelievable how many people I know that actually don't even use that. I guess it's because we've taken the habit from a long time that these tech supports don't really help. And I can tell you for a fact that that has changed. It takes a much shorter time to get a real human to answer your questions. And usually those real humans actually really are helpful. One asterisk that is happening is that you have more and more automated also chat bots. So bots are robots or artificial intelligence tech support. You would first go through that, and if that robot or artificial intelligence tech support can't answer your question, then usually they tell you, would you like to speak to a representative? And you click yes. Or sometimes you can directly ask, I want to speak to a representative or somebody from the tech team. So use that whenever you're stuck. And I can tell you, I'm taking this to the spiritual level, I think, maybe too much, but I actually been really moved sometimes to speak to a person. I mean, we're not face to face, but when you actually get to use the tech support and that person actually solved the problem for you, it's such an amazing feeling of joy and gratefulness that I'm having. And I hope you get to experience that, because when you look at it this way, suddenly you are building that mindset that will help you not see all these hurdles and frustrations as an issue, but rather as an exciting adventure and also a beautiful moment of transformation. Like, oh my God, I had this huge issue that was just solved. I don't know. I get really, really excited and very grateful to know that this is possible nowadays. Maybe I'm getting excited about it because I lived in a time where I didn't have access to this, and I feel so grateful that I do today. And I hope that I can communicate that to you today so that you can take full benefit of it. All right. So I shared with you, on top of the mindset, a couple of ways you can fix your tech issues or even your areas where you don't know what you don't know. The first one is YouTube. The second one is the internal tutorials of these businesses and online tools. And the third one is the support team, whether it starts with an automated chatbot or it's directly with customer service. So these are good things to do first. And then comes the last resort, which at some point in your business will become the first resort. So for me, it used to be the last resort. And I'm going to be honest with you, now that I'm in a certain stage of my business, it has become my first resort with online tools and technical issues. And when I don't know something, I delegate. So that's the last piece that I want to share with you. If you're struggling to find your answers through YouTube and all the online tools and the ways that I shared with you now, there's a last resort, which is to go and ask somebody who knows. So first of all, you can either ask a peer of yours or somebody you know personally who might know, or you use the platforms where you have experts in the tools that you use. The typical tool that I know people struggle with as solo entrepreneurs, number one is website hosting and email marketing providers. These are like the most common areas where people struggle when they start in their entrepreneurial journey, sometimes even when they've been in business for a long time but didn't implement the right systems in the back end. So if, for example, let's say you're like me and you use the tool that I recommend, which is called ConvertKit, to manage your email list and send your newsletters. If you're having troubles with it, ConvertKit has everything I mentioned, but let's say you still don't find your answers. There are places you can go to get experts on ConvertKit. For example, if you go to Fiverr, the website Fiverr, you can find a bunch of people who can help you. So now there's so many people there that it's hard to choose sometimes. So one of the things that I recommend you to do is to look at the number of reviews that people have. Choose those people who have many reviews and who are on the top list of the platform, who are even recommended or have like a star in their profile because they've been doing a lot of business on the Fiverr platform. So Fiverr is a great place to find experts in various online tools. So you just go into the search box and you write expert or assistant or virtual assistant, and then you add the name of that tool, and you will find a bunch of people there. And if not, find other platforms. Even Google could be a place for you to find those people. Or LinkedIn. You could go to LinkedIn on the search box and type that online tool and expert next to it so that you can find somebody who knows about that tool. All right. So that last resort in your early stage is to find somebody who knows about that tool, who can guide you through the hurdles you're having. And once you grow in your business, at some point, you'll be able to actually have somebody in your business who's in charge of that. For instance, and that position is actually usually called an online business manager. So I have an online business manager, and her name is Sabine, and she is in charge of all the back-end technology stuff. So whenever I have a question, I first ask her. And to be honest with you, the problem with that is that I'm becoming more lazy. And that's something I'm watching carefully because I know that technology keeps evolving. So if I'm not staying interested, at some point I will be overwhelmed because I'm not keeping up with things. So that's another advice I have. Even if you delegate, try to still be interested in paying attention to the evolution of technology, because that's one thing that I can say feels a bit frustrating sometimes, is when you spend time learning something and then ultimately there's new upgrades of new softwares, etc. And you're like, oh my God, I have to learn that again. But here's the choice that I made in terms of thoughts I talked to you about. I realized that I had the thought that I needed to learn everything from scratch, which is not true. Because I've spent the time learning the basics, now it's easy for me to get to understand those upgrades, right? So those shifts are important as well. All right, I shared with you here some important resources and tips. The first one is your mindset. The second is YouTube. The third is your internal tutorials of these online tools. The fourth is support team. Use a support team. And finally, delegate to an expert of that online tool that you're struggling with, if you are struggling. And now a final note about everything I shared with you here. You can hear my excitement about technology and online tools, right? But I've been in places where it feels really daunting. And the key word here is perseverance, persist. One of the examples is, for example, when you try to find an expert on Fiverr. Know that it's not going to be maybe the first one you'll find that will be helpful. Maybe you'll need to go through a couple of people to find the right person. You need to persevere. It's the same with the learning curve of learning. If you learn about a process to manage an online tool and it doesn't work from the get-go, it's okay. You might also sometimes have bugs, or you might have things breaking down. It's okay. Just remember to persist. And sometimes through those hurdles is where you grow most. If you want to know about all the resources I mentioned in this episode, as well as get my list of my 5 top online tools that I swear by, go to the show notes of this episode and you'll be able to download it right there. Go to tandemnomads.com/261. All right, Nomad Nation, I hope this was insightful for you. I can't wait to hear your feedback. Let me know what are the changes and shifts you can make now from this episode. You can find me on Instagram, DM me there, or email me on connect@tandemnomads.com. I can't wait to hear from you, and stay tuned to turn your challenges into great opportunities.